What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and there's a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about right at the start. First of all, we hit Legend Rank in the Ultra League on Go Battle Day, which I'm super happy with, using a similar team to the last video, but with one big change, and also the reward we got after hitting Legend Rank. And I was going to wait till the end of the video, I was going to push it later on, and be like, oh, keep watching to see it and all that, but, you know, push for watch retention and all that crap, but honestly, it can't wait. I've got to show you guys this right now. We got the shiny Pikachu Libre. I honestly can't believe it. I've been hunting for that. I've been hoping every season to pull this thing. So incredibly cool to get this shiny. Like, you get one check a season if you make Legend Rank. Like, that is arguably one of the rarest shinies in the game, if not the rarest shiny in the game to get. And not just shiny Pikachu Libre, but this was Go Battle Day that I got shiny Pikachu Libre, right? Which means that the IV floor is removed. So normally encounters you get through Go Battle League rewards are capped at 10 IVs minimum in any stat, like same as raid bosses and research rewards. But because it's Go Battle Day, this thing has no floor cap. So it's a 0 attack PvP IVs Pikachu Libre. So this thing's gonna be perfect for the Little Cup formats. It's incredibly rare. It's incredibly cool to get the shiny and to have the IVs that are only available on Go Battle Days. Like, you cannot get those IVs. Either you'd have to find someone that you have 0 friendship level with to trade a shiny Pikachu Libre to get something with this IV spread. Otherwise, and then get incredibly lucky with how those IVs roll. So really pleased with this thing. Now, aside from the Pikachu Libre, which has absolutely had me stun locked for like a day, I just haven't known what to do with myself since getting it. I've been like such a eager little nerd about it. I can't. But the team for Ultra League, right? The thing that you're going to want to see to try and make the push up Legend Rank yourself over this next week and a half. Like I said, it's similar to the last team, but there is one Pokemon change that made a big difference to a lot of matchups and how it plays out. So we're going to talk about that team now. I'm going to show you guys the battles, hitting Legend Rank, getting the Pikachu Libre Encounter and all that. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. So as we said earlier, this team's very similar to the previous team we uploaded on the channel, and that's going to involve Scrafty on the lead, which is very versatile, does very well in the current state of the meta. Scrafty's very strong. If you've got PvP IVs, I recommend it more than a hundo. We've still got Cresselia in the back, which will potentially be a safe swap in some situations, and in other situations, our safe swap will be the third Pokemon, which is new for me in the Ultra League, and that is going to be Shadow Nidoqueen. Now, you can use a regular Nidoqueen, but the Shadow has better fast move pressure with those poison jabs, poison fangs, ranking up the defense drops. Now, the good thing about Nidoqueen and Talonflame is surprisingly they have very similar coverage in this meta. They have similar things that they struggle with, similar things that they beat, but Nidoqueen I find is a little bit stronger, a little bit more versatile overall, especially against a lot more of the common picks that we're seeing in the current state of the Ultra League meta. Now, be warned, it is extremely expensive to build a Shadow Nidoqueen for the Ultra League. This thing cost me 600,000 Stardust to build, 60,000 for a second charge move, and 540,000 to power it up from the CP that I caught, the Nidoran. So very expensive, but it did pay off. I got Legend Rank and I got the shiny Libre, so definitely an investment that was worthwhile. Alright, so taking a look at some battles, the first up matchup we've got is Alolan Muk. Now, this is a solid lead because it keeps it away from Cresselia, which does struggle with those dark and poison types in general. If the Alolan Muk has Snarl, you want to be watching out for Sludge Wave, but you can survive one very comfortably. If they're running Poison Jab as a fast move like this one is, there's a good chance they're running Acid Spray, so you don't need to shield the first move. Now, if they happen to swap out into something that Scrafty is also strong against, you can potentially stay in with Scrafty and save Nidoqueen for the Muk, because one Earth Power is going to absolutely obliterate Alolan Muk, and you're going to be double, triple resisting or something the Poison Jab fast moves. So Nidoqueen has a good matchup here. Scrafty does. You just got to keep Cresselia away from it if you can. And because we choose to play the 0 shields out entirely, we do just win that matchup by a sliver of health, meaning we can line up Nidoqueen with this Trevenant. And this is a matchup that plays out very similarly between Nidoqueen and Talonflame, where Talonflame really has to shield a Shadow Ball if they do build up to it. Same for Nidoqueen, you've got to shield up a Shadow Ball. It's going to do some big damage if it comes through, but they're going to swap out into Walrein. We've got Cresselia to lock this thing down with the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot's just fantastic for wiping out these water types. Like even a non-Shadow Walrein here, we're going to be able to hit it with a second Grass Knot, then farm it down probably entirely, and then just have a boatload of energy to dump into the Trevenant, maybe pressure a shield out of him, because even though Trevenant can normally take a Moonblast or something from a Cresselia on top of the relentless poison jab damage it's going to be taking from our Shadow Nidoqueen, they're going to have to be shielding it up. They can't afford to take that kind of damage. You don't have to shield anything up from the Walrein, just saving the shield for Nidoqueen just to pressure through with those fast moves and finish off the Trevenant and take the win. We do swap straight away because we were expecting, no matter what happened after that charge move, for the Trevenant to come straight in and to try and preserve a little bit of health on the Walrein, which they do, but it's not going to matter at all. We're just going to be able to take out the Trevenant and then take out this Walrein. Absolutely no worries. That's going to be a GG. One of the main things I really like about Shadow Nidoqueen compared to Talonflame is its ability to force its way through matchups with shields. Now, this game we get a Walrein lead, which is fantastic for Scrafty, but also it's good for Cresselia because we're running Grass Knot. So as long as we keep Nidoqueen away from the Walrein, we're not particularly stressed about what's in the back. We're a little bit concerned that there might be a Charmer in the back to answer a potential fighter, but also we're not going to let it really spoil our day either. We know this is just going to be a Flame Charge from Talonflame, that's fine. So we're just going to go ahead and see if this Talonflame wants to shield for switch advantage. If they don't, it's fine, we'll take switch advantage. If they do, they should just take us out. But we know that we're fine against the Walrein anyway. We're just hoping there's not a Charmer back there. And we've got a slight energy advantage. We'd even do okay against something like an opposing Nidoqueen back there because the foul plays do add up. And it turns out it's a Cresselia in the back, which Scrafty can do okay against if the Cresselia isn't running Moonblast. But we're assuming that since they swapped out of a Walrein lead, which makes them weak to fighters on the lead, their Cresselia is probably running Moonblast to handle like things like Obstagoon and Scrafty a little bit better. But we get Cresselia lined up against their Walrein now because we swap out, they swap out. Job is a good, and we're still in a pretty strong position in this game. We're just going to save the shield for Scrafty to make sure we can block at least one Moonblast and ideally get 2 foul plays off since we've already got an energy advantage. Since the switch timers are out of sync, we're going to bring Scrafty in here early, get a little bit more energy, and this is simply because we can take any charge move that the Walrein was going to throw, but a Moonblast will take us out. So we need to save the shield for that, and it's irrelevant how much damage we have other than that because they cannot farm us down with Psycho Cut. It's a low damage, high energy move, and we're resisting it. So not much to worry about from there. We can take the Icicle Spears or Earthquake or whatever the Walrein wanted to throw at us and just get more energy for these foul plays to really put more pressure on. Now, if this is Moonblast, takes us out. It's going to be a little bit close, but we're hoping that Cresselia is just going to be able to clutch it out. We do have more health. We've still got some energy here, so I think we're probably going to go for maybe a Moonblast and then a Grass Knot because we're not sure how much energy they've got, and we're not sure if we would survive a Moonblast if they got to another one before we did. So we go for the Moonblast, we get the attack drop, which definitely secures that we've won this game because we would definitely survive a Moonblast from that Cresselia at this point. Get a Grass Knot off, finish them off, take the win. GG. Pretty close game. A lot of the time this team comes down to identifying a strong threat to one particular thing on your team and just keeping it away. Like we saw Walrein, we kept Nidoqueen away from it. The previous match we saw Muk and kept Cresselia away from it. Right, Dragonites. I'm seeing more and more Dragonites in the Ultra League in the last few days. I tend to safe swap Nidoqueen against this thing because what are Dragonites weak to, right? They're weak to Fairy. They're also weak to Steel, but they're weak to Fairy, which means there's probably going to be either Poison types or Steel types in the back. And as we see here, a Scizor comes in to meet our Nidoqueen. And Nidoqueen makes a better save swap against a Dragonite lead, I think, just because I said most of what they have prepared in the back is less likely to be able to handle Nidoqueen and throw them out. Cresselia is a very obvious safe swap against Dragonite, so they're probably ready to answer it. And they've probably got something dark back there or something Steel, like an Escavalier that we see here, which definitely would have been there to hard punish Cresselia if we'd have safe swapped into that. Whereas instead, we've now got Scrafty lined up against this thing, which isn't ideal, but we can put some work in. And then we can line Cresselia up with the Dragonite, land a Moonblast, we can tank the moves, doesn't matter if we're down shields, and then hopefully take the win. Because this Escavalier is now in single Moonblast range. So we should have a Mega Horn, that's fantastic. Even if he hits us with another one, which he probably will, if this is a Mega Horn, we're going to farm extra energy before we throw because we know we've got some time before. The Dragonite swaps in pretty aggressively, but we knew the Dragonite was energy dry. Get a couple extra Psycho Cuts, throw the Moonblast, take them out. We can survive these counters, make it to one more Moonblast, finish them off, and take the win. So a bit of finesse, managing our energy levels there towards that end game, but still worked out pretty well. So like I said, I tend to avoid the obvious safe swap between Nidoqueen and Cresselia, because against Dragonite, Cresselia is the obvious choice. They're going to have a hard answer for it. Like Escavalier, we're swapping Nidoqueen, throw them out, give us some wiggle room to take advantage back in the end game. Alright, Giratina lead, fantastic for Scrafty unless they're running Dragon Breath, in which case they can really put pressure on, but they safe swap into Escavalier, and if we'd have had Talonflame on the team still, this would have been a really strong position for us to be in, but we don't, so whatever, we're just going to stay in with Scrafty, because we don't want to bring in Nidoqueen because the draw run will smash us to pieces, don't want to bring in Cresselia because it struggles with Escavalier, we're going to stay in here, bait them with a power-up punch, and then throw the foul play, and ideally take them out, which we do, that's fantastic. Honestly, without Talonflame, Escavalier can be a little tough for this team overall, but you don't see that many of them. I know I've just seen 2 in the last 3 games here, but honestly, overall, I haven't seen that many Escavs, and you do still have options to handle it. Like, Scrafty is pretty versatile overall. Now, they've got Cobalion in the back, which Nidoqueen is a really strong answer to Cobalion because they all run Stone Edge for coverage against things like Talonflame, which Nidoqueen resists, and then they're running fighting moves, which Nidoqueen resists, so you can really just wall them off, hit them with Earth Powers for monstrous damage, and we get Cresselia lined up against the Giratina. The opponent realizes there's not much they can do, and they're going to go ahead and surrender there, and it's going to be a GG. So at this point, we were at 29-41 ELO range, and we'd won 4 out of the 5 matches so far with 1 more game to play. So I was feeling a little bit of pressure, because really, if we'd lost the next game, we wouldn't have made Legend Rank with this set, and if I won the next game, I would probably make Legend Rank. So hesitated for a few minutes before jumping in, wanted to compose myself a little bit, because when you're close to Legend Rank and you know it's a bit later on in the season, you start to get a little bit tense and a bit nervous. You really do want to make that push up and get over the finish line. Alright, so Shadow Drapion lead. Normally absolutely fantastic because it means you're keeping it away from Cresselia. And it does depend a little bit if they're running Sludge Bomb or Aqua Tail. If they're running Aqua Tail, this is a very strong matchup for you. If they're running Sludge Bomb, they can do big damage with that. They can't one-shot you, they do have to land 2 of them on you still to take you out. This one does have Sludge Bomb, which is a little bit unfortunate because it means that if we want switch advantage, we have to shield up for it. We have to shield up the next Sludge Bomb and then counter them down entirely. We're going to choose to let this go, I think, and if it happens to be a Sludge Bomb, which it is, worst case scenario takes us out, we're just going to farm down entirely with Nidoqueen. And let this move go because we're assuming they've not got Aqua Tail. We've shown that they've got Sludge Bomb, so they've probably got Crunch as well. And we're just going to see what we can do with a massive energy advantage. And a Steelix comes in to meet us. So we're going to throw Earth Power, and we're going to try and catch a move on Cresselia because Steelix in this season got access to Psychic Fangs, which is great coverage against the poison types like Nidoqueen. It hits just hard enough to take us out, combined with the really oppressive Dragon Tail fast move that Steelix has as well. So it's got a very nice moveset, Steelix, and it's worth checking out if you've got one of optimal IVs for the Ultra League for sure. We swap out, catch the Psychic Fangs, which does debuff us, so we're going to shield up the potential Moonblast here and just keep going for Grass Knots on this Tapu Fini that comes in to meet us. Obviously, it's not ideal for them to bring in a Tapu Fini to a Cresselia, but they are a little bit stuck because they're feeling like they need Steelix to deal with Nidoqueen. We're going to have to force the last shield here, and we might swap back into Nidoqueen here. Yeah, well, they choose to let it go through. We're going to bring in Nidoqueen aggressively and go for the Earth Power. And we're hoping that they don't shield this up, which they don't. Boom, fantastic, take them out. It's a little bit of a lucky break there, because if they'd have shielded that up, they could have farmed us down entirely and potentially double crunched Cresselia and taken us out. But I felt like going for the Poison Fang bait was a little bit obvious because it would have put them into, you know, get the shield, put them in single Grass Knot range and then take them out with that. So I was expecting them to not shield, but it was just an absolute instinct call that we got quite lucky on. But GG's to the opponent there. That's going to be the 5-0 set that's going to push us up into the Legend rank. And then I thought, you know what? It's still Go Battle Day. I've got enough time for one more set. Let's try and get the Pikachu Libre. So, matchup 6, another Giratina on the lead. It's looking pretty good for us. They're going to swap out into a Charmer so we can absolutely hard punish this with our Nidoqueen. The main thing to bear in mind is if someone safe swaps a Charmer, They've probably got a second charmer in the back. They're probably running double charm, which means switch advantage is absolutely vital for us here. We're able to take out the Sylveon before he gets to a side shock, presumably. I thought that it might have just got to one, but maybe not quite. I'm going to start just throwing Earth Powers into the Giratina, do some chip damage, and we're just hoping that Cresselia is going to be able to handle what I presume is another charmer in the back. The main problem here is, as you can see, the opponent hasn't used a shield yet, and double shielded charm can get through so many things in the meta. There it is. There's the Alolan Ninetales. So we're going to bring in Cresselia straight away, and we're just going to make sure that they don't sneak any charms through. We need every last fast move, every last bit of energy we can get to put as much work in on this Ninetales as we can. Now, we're presuming that they're going to be able to take us out because they're just going to be able to shield up if they have to. We're going for double Moonblast, and the reason we're going for double Moonblast is we want to start to get them low. We want to potentially get an attack drop as well. We want to nerf that charm damage if we can. Grass Knot is slightly more spammy, but 2 Moonblasts in a 2 shield scenario will take out a Ninetales, whereas you need 3 Grass Knots. But since we've got 2 shields and they're using so many fast moves, it puts them into double Moonblast range. But they catch a Moonblast on Giratina, which is a great catch, but also they underestimate what Scrafty can do. The charms are eating away at us. We make it a 1 more foul play, and this is just going to take out the Ninetales and take us the win. I thought when they caught Moonblast on Giratina that I'd lost the game, and I was really impressed that Scrafty just had enough energy and enough oomph to just be able to drag out to get 2 foul plays off and take the win regardless. Because one thing about Alolan Ninetales is that the counters do a little bit of work themselves. You saw that the actual fast move damage put it down into single foul play range there as well. A very close game there, to be sure. Now, Scrafty Mirror Match is a bit of a weird one. Now, because I've got a Hundo Scrafty, I probably win CMP tie against more, so I can throw my power-up punches first. So sometimes I stay in. Sometimes I try and catch the first power-up punch on Cresselia, and then they swap out and stuff. But I found that I like the idea of staying in with Scrafty until they swap out or choose to do something, because often they will catch the second power-up punch on something on their team. Often things like a Trevenant. And we can just bring in our Nidoqueen here and just go to town with these poison jabs, these poison fangs, and just really put some serious work in here. They have built up to a Shadow Ball, so we are going to shield, because if it is a Shadow Ball, it'll be devastating to us. It's a Seed Bomb bait, but that means we can throw this Poison Fang here and force them to shield if they want to throw a Shadow Ball with that excess energy. They're choosing to do that. This is worth another shield, going down both shields. Coming out of this with energy, because if the Scrafty comes in, we can still threaten it with a Poison Fang here. And actually, an opposing Shadow Nidoqueen comes in here. We're going to build up and attempt to catch an Earth Power on our Scrafty. They swap out at the same time, throw their power-up punch and take us out, which now means we can come in with back in that with our Nidoqueen to get even more energy. They'll make it to another power-up punch here, but it won't be enough to take us out, and the opposing Nidoqueen can't farm us down. And we're just going to throw Earth Powers into this thing. We think they might be expecting a Poison Fang bait here because we've got so much energy, but no, we're going to go straight for the Earth Power. Boom! I get absolutely annihilated. And honestly, we thought, well, we're going to either land Earth Power, maybe get the second one through if they don't throw straight away. And then we've got Cresselia, which can go toe-to-toe with Nidoqueen because those Grass Knots and the Psycho Cuts do add up over time. So that was the rough game plan if they had have shielded up the Earth Power, but didn't matter in the long run anyway. Alright, Abomasnow lead. You guys want to see me majorly fumble a game, right? They say swap into Cobalion and we bring in Cresselia. Now think about this for a second. For one thing, Nidoqueen is a better answer to Cobalion than Cresselia is, because you're resisting all the moves and you can very comfortably control switch advantage by just throwing Earth Powers at this thing. But what is Abomasnow really weak to? It's double weak to fire. It's really weak to Talonflame. So you know what they're going to run in the back? They're going to be running a water type, something like Swampert, very, very likely in the back with an Abomasnow lead, just to cover it against things with rock moves, against things with fire moves, against things with fighting moves to some extent. So we don't want to lose. We realise this halfway through the Cobalion matchup and realize we've got to preserve our Cresselia. So once the Cobalion goes down and they bring in Abomasnow, we're going to swap Scrafty back in as fast as we can and try and preserve some health on Cresselia, because we know that that Nidoqueen's going to really struggle with Swampert. Like, we've still got 2 shields apiece here, and we've got reasonable health on Scrafty. a full health Nidoqueen and some health on Cresselia. But it's not going to matter. Swampert is just going to be able to absolutely run rampant here because there's not enough health on Cresselia to really pressure with the Grass Knots and put the work in. If against Cobalion instead, we'd brought in the Shadow Nidoqueen, control switch advantage, that would have been fine. Then we'd have had Scrafty lined up with the Abomasnow and Cresselia lined up with the Swampert, and we would have absolutely destroyed this matchup. But we played it wrong. We didn't think in the moment fast enough about Abomasnow lead and what that implies about what's in the back in the team. You see an Abomasnow lead, there's a good chance there's a Swampert in the back, just because it has to have hard coverage for Talonflame. Talonflame is too devastating to Abomasnow in general, and there's nothing we can do here. We're not going to even make it to another Earth Power or anything. We're going to have energy built up, hit us with a Hydro Cannon, take us out, and we're going to take an L here. That's going to be a GG to the opponent. Okay, moving on, matchup number 4, and this is going to be a tough lead for us, and that is Nidoqueen. Now, if it's Shadow Nidoqueen, this is much worse for us, but regular Nidoqueen, we're going to choose to stay in with Scrafty, and we're going to take the first Poison Fang, right? They're even building up to Earth Power, but we're going to assume that they're going to throw a Poison Fang. We're just going to let it through. From a regular Nidoqueen, Earth Power it's pretty devastating, but not as bad as from a Shadow. So we'll let it go, it's the Poison Fang. And because this is a non-Shadow variant, we can comfortably take the second one. We're not going to shield it up. And then we're going to clear the debuffs by safe swapping into Cresselia and pressure the opponent. Clear the debuffs on Scrafty, preserve some health, some energy on it. See what the opponent chooses to do. They're going to choose to debuff us once with a Poison Fang, swap out into Shadow Walrein. And this is a common misjudgment you'll see with a Cresselia Safe Swap, because most Cresselia Safe Swaps now are running Future Sight instead of Grass Knot to cover Talonflames that they're trying to bait out for whatever's in the back. But we've got Grass Knot, and against a Shadow Walrein, we're going to be able to very heavily pressure with these Grass Knots. We're going to shut up the Earthquake because they built up so much energy, and because we're debuffed, we thought they might go for a Hail Mary hard-hitting Earthquake to maybe take us out since our defense has dropped. We shut it up, we get to another Grass Knot, we take them out, we take Switch Advantage. So now the Nidoqueen might come back in, something else might. They actually bring in Scrafty. We're going to swap out to preserve some health on Cresselia and tempt them to swap back into their Nidoqueen, but they don't. Just because we know our Nidoqueen is going to be very strong against their Scrafty. So we're just trying to pivot around a little bit and see what we can figure out here. We don't have the energy to get a foul play off against the Nidoqueen. They don't shield, which is a little unfortunate for us. This means we can get Cresselia in here, shield at the potential Earth Power, which it is. That's a very good call for us. And now we can build up extra energy, build up all the way up to 100 energy before throwing the Grass Knot to finish them off. And that means we might be able to get to a Moonblast against this Scrafty, which we are going to make it to. And if they let this through, it's going to do absolutely devastating damage, which they don't the shield up. That's fine. Now we're going to swap out aggressively into Shadow Nidoqueen. We can survive one foul play comfortably, 2 foul plays, it's very close, and if it's an attack-weighted Scrafty, it can threaten us, but we're going to be able to just survive long enough to get to an Earth Power. This is going to take them out and going to give us the win here. Well, not quite. Doesn't quite knock them out. Bear that in mind. Scrafty can actually take a pretty solid beating, but it's not quite enough. We can farm them down. We're going to take that win. A little bit close, but GG's all the same. So we've now unlocked our Pikachu Libre Encounter. We've got one more matchup in this set to play, and we pull the Walrein lead. Absolutely beautiful. So we're expecting the Walrein to swap out, which they do, into Trevenant. That's fantastic. This means that we can keep Nidoqueen away from the Walrein, which is a hard counter to it. It means that we can keep Cresselia away from Trevenant, which is a hard counter to it. So we're very likely to be in a strong winning position in this game. We do get baited with a Seed Bomb here, so we are going to have to shield up this move here, which is probably going to be a Shadow Ball. So we're going to double shield, and we're just going to farm down entirely because we were slightly behind on energy. We realised that they were going to get to the second charge move the same time we got to the Poison Fang. We didn't want to lose CMP tie and lose that energy, so that's why we didn't try and throw at the same time, because that's a common mistake you can make in the Nidoqueen Trevenant matchup, is if you're swapping in against it, you'll probably be 2 fast moves behind, and that lets them CMP tie with you on the second Poison Fang and force you to use your energy as well. They've got Virizion in the back. They're just going to surrender when they see Cresselia. But also, that was a questionable choice to me. I don't know if Virizion can do good work in that matchup with 2 shields. 2 shield advantage can go a long way, especially when they've got a really solid energy efficient move like Leaf Blade. But either which way, we take the win. We take 4 out of 5 wins. There's the shiny Pikachu Libre. Absolutely so chuffed with this thing. Cannot describe how happy I am with it. Going to be flexing this thing for a long time. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like. 1 like equals 1 pat on the head on Shiny Pikachu Libre. If you subscribe for more teams, more content, if you've enjoyed the video and the team itself, let me know down below what you think about it. Got any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll try and get back to you. And as always, I will catch all of you absolute legends next time.